Hello and welcome to PMI's Uncommon Sense podcast, tools to improve your work forever. I'm Susanna Clark, Managing Partner with PMI, the performance improvement consulting and training firm. Our Uncommon Sense podcast is a 15-minute conversation with our expert consultants. They talk a lot of common sense, although much of it is not common practice. And that's what this podcast is all about. We want you to be inspired to improve your business through learning more about the tools which can help you succeed and grow. I'm Susanna Clark, and today I'm joined by Warren Knight. We're going to be talking today about histograms. So first of all, Warren, can you just tell us about what is a histogram?
A histogram is often referred to as being a bar chart. It is, but actually it's a little bit more than a bar chart. There's a little bit more science around that. Because what we're talking about on the x-axis is a continuum of values. Okay. So often in a bar chart, we could say, how many cars are red, how many cars are blue. They're not on a continuum. And what we do is we take the values in the data set and then we classify them into value groups along this continuum. And what's really powerful about that is it provides a shape for the data set. And what that shape tells us, it gives us a sense of the distribution of probability, okay, in that data set. So the probability of achieving certain values, which is a really interesting dimension above, min and max. This was the lowest figure we got. This was the highest figure we got. Fine. But what's the probability of getting that figure? And what's the probability of getting values in between the min and max? Mm-hmm. And that's what the histogram's trying to do for us. So it's all about the shape. Okay. So when we have a visualization of the shape of the data, then often what it can do is give us insights into the tendencies within the process in terms of the values that it will deliver. So the process might have a tendency to produce most of its values around the average. Okay, so quite sort of symmetrical. Mm-hmm. Or actually there might be a tendency for the probability to be skewed. In other words, there's more tendency to get values at the high end versus the low end. And those tendencies can infer that there might be natural or physical boundaries within the process that stop it from behaving in certain ways. It might tell us that there's more than one process at play in terms of performance. It might even give us some sense of whether there is rework and things like that at play. So it gives another dimension that just the numbers on their own doesn't give us.
So in the context of reviewing our process performance, you've plotted your data, you've got your histogram, you're seeing some shapes. What might be the sorts of things you then deduce?
It might be, for example, so if I start to bring in sort of the performance against customer requirements. Mm-hmm. So let's say we've got a service level agreement of 5-day turnaround time. So we agree with the customer that we're gonna deliver within 5 days. Mm-hmm. So when we look at the data, we can very quickly look at how many values are sort of within 5 days, how many values are outside of 5 days. Mm-hmm. With a histogram, though, we can look at the probability of achieving certain values.
Okay.
So actually, the process tendency might be most of the values will be around 4 days, for example, which means the process is very much up against that 5-day SLA. Or we might find the tendency is actually the other way. The tendency is down near 1 or 2 days. Now, actually, that's telling us something different about process performance and about customer experience. That just simply the numbers on their own,
Yes,
may not give us that visual impact to see that.
And presumably moving that on, we can then make decisions about what we tell our customers or how we do the work.
Yes.
Okay.
And, so for instance, if our tendency is all bunched up around sort of 4 to 5 days, we're on the brink of chaos here.
Yes.
Whereas if we're down at 1 or 2 days, we got plenty of elbow room here. We got plenty of breathing space.
And I guess there's the whole thing potentially around as we move forward, then we can make decisions about, what do we do next now that we know this?
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it can give us insight into, or it can help us generate theories that help us to understand why we're getting the performance that we're getting. So, sort of an example. So many years ago, as a junior manager in a financial services organization, I was given the privilege of piloting a call center. I started by analysing the data to understand how many calls we were getting currently, what time of day we were getting calls, so on and so on. Because of course, one of the first things I needed to know is, so what capacity do I need? Interestingly, if I'd have plotted the data on a histogram, I would have noticed that as the number of calls increased, it suddenly got to a point where it just fell off a cliff.
Okay.
But you didn't kind of see that from the data set itself.
Yeah.
And so I organised the pilot team, call centre team, capacity-wise, based upon this data set, not really realising that there was a barrier. Now, the barrier was caused by the fact is, previous to the call center technology, we had a limited number of lines. So the data in the call data wasn't actually displaying the amount of people that were trying to call. It displayed what was possible within the constraints of the current technology.
Yes.
Of course, when we then were trialing this new telephone technology where people could be put into a queue, suddenly we saw the real extent of demand. Yes. And it was very different from what the numbers were telling me.
And so what you're saying is, had you had the histogram, you just said, what is going on there?
Yeah. Because you would expect it to naturally tail off.
Yeah.
Not just fall off a cliff.
Yes. Okay. I like that example. So, in summary, can you give me top tips about histograms?
Yeah. So, histograms. So, again, I'm going to sort of start with data. Definitely can use sort of continuous measurement data with it. You can use count data, but traditionally it's sort of continuous data we would use it for. The real challenge with histograms is that you need a lot of data in order to create a robust shape. So you're talking probably 50, 100 data points at least. So the data set's much bigger. Otherwise, there is a risk that you'll see a shape which actually is not representative of long-term performance. Again, sort of keep the data fresh. It is a snapshot, so try and keep the data fresh and representative of how the process is performing at the moment. Be careful if the process is unstable. So going back to this idea of SPC, SPC will tell us if the performance of our process is changing over time, either in terms of the level of variation or in terms of the average. If there's instability, okay, you won't see that instability because it's a snapshot, but it could affect the shape or the spread of the data in the shape. And it's another fantastic tool for displaying and understanding variation, but actually it's best used in conjunction with a run chart or SPC, a control chart, which then displays the data over time, which is the bit which is missing from histogram.
Okay, super. Thank you for your time today, Warren. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Cheers for now.
Thank you so much for joining us. You can find more episodes of our Uncommon Sense Tools to Improve Your Work Forever in our Knowledge Hub on our website, or, of course, your favourite podcast platform. And do subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this episode, where you'll find links to more content on this topic, which includes webinar recordings, toolbox guides, blogs, and infographics, and our training page. You can always drop us a line on team@pmi.co.uk and arrange a time to have a call to talk about how these tools can help you in your organisation. We'd really love to hear from you.